Thousands of years ago, along the banks of the Nile River, in what is now northern Sudan, a great African civilization began to rise. This land was known as Nubia, and from it came the Kingdom of Kush. For many years, the powerful Egyptians controlled parts of Nubia. They came south to take gold, slaves, and ivory. The people of Nubia learned from them, but they were never truly Egyptian. They had their own culture, own language, and own pride. One of the first great cities of Kush was Kerma, which began around 2500 BC. It was a rich city, full of mud brick homes, wide roads, and a massive building called the Western Defufa, used for worship. The people of Kerma traded with Egypt, but also fought them at times. They were skilled archers, known as the bowmen of Africa. The Egyptian pharaohs feared the strength of Kush. They sometimes built fortresses to protect themselves from Kushite attacks. Around 1500 BC, the Egyptian army invaded Nubia and destroyed Kerma. For the next 500 years, Egypt ruled over Kush. But this was not the end. During those years, the people of Kush grew stronger in secret. They served in Egyptian armies, learned to read and write in hieroglyphics, and built temples to Egyptian gods. But they never forgot who they were. When Egypt became weak and broke into smaller kingdoms, the Kushites saw their chance. A new leader named Alara rose in the city of Napata, near the sacred mountain Jebel Barkal. Alara began to unite the people of Kush once again. After him came Kashta and then his son Piye. Piye was not just a king, he was a visionary. Around 750 BC, he marched north with his army. He did not come as a destroyer, he came as a ruler with a mission. He defeated the Egyptian kings and took control of the land. He wrote his victory on a great stone stele, saying, "I am a king mighty in war, the beloved of Amun." Piye respected Egyptian religion and culture. He prayed in their temples and honored their gods. But he ruled as a Kushite pharaoh with African power and pride. His family, known as the 25th dynasty, ruled Egypt and Kush together for nearly a century. Under Piye and his descendants, Shabaka, Taharka, and Tanutamani, the Kushites brought peace, order, and spiritual strength back to Egypt. They restored old temples, built new ones, and made Egypt strong again. These kings are often called the Black Pharaohs because they were African and proud of their roots. One of the most powerful of them was Taharka, who ruled over a vast empire. His image is found on statues with thick lips, broad noses, and strong features, showing the true face of Africa. But this golden age did not last forever. A new power, the Assyrians, came from the north. They had stronger weapons and cruel armies. One by one, they defeated the cities of Egypt. Finally, they drove the Kushites out of Egypt. The Kushite kings returned south to their homeland. Back in Kush, the kings made a bold choice. They moved the capital from Napata to a new place called Meroë. Meroë was far from Egypt's reach. It stood near iron-rich hills, thick forests, and trade routes. It became the center of industry, art, and power. The people of Meroë were experts in iron smelting. They built large furnaces, made sharp tools, and created weapons. These iron goods were traded across Africa and the Middle East. Meroë was also a place of beauty. The Kushites wore colorful clothes made from cotton and silk. They made pottery, jewelry, and sculptures with African designs. They developed their own writing system called Meroitic script, which is still a mystery today. Most famously, they built pyramids, more than 200 of them. These pyramids were smaller than the Egyptian ones, but had steep sides and unique designs. They stood in the desert like silent guardians of a lost empire. In Meroë, women were not just wives or mothers, they were rulers. The most powerful women were called Kandakes or Candaces. These queens could lead armies, rule the kingdom, and appear on coins and statues. One famous queen was Queen Amanirenas. When the Romans conquered Egypt, they tried to invade Kush too. But Amanirenas fought back fiercely. She led her warriors into battle, captured Roman forts, and even sent a statue of Augustus, the Roman emperor, back to Kush, with its head cut off. Today, that head is still buried under a temple in Kush as a symbol of victory. Eventually, peace was made. Rome agreed not to conquer Kush, and trade continued. For hundreds of years, Meroë remained rich and powerful, but over time, the forests were cut down to fuel the iron furnaces. The land dried up, the rivers changed course, farming became harder. At the same time, a new power called Aksum rose in the east. They controlled sea trade and grew rich. In the 4th century AD, The Aksumite king Ezana, who had become Christian, sent an army to destroy Meroë. The city was burned. The empire fell. The once great kingdom of Kush faded into the sands. For many years, people forgot the story of Kush. The pyramids were buried. The writing was unreadable. Western historians ignored its greatness. But in the 19th and 20th centuries, archaeologists began to explore Nubia. They found pyramids, temples, tombs, and treasures. They learned that Kush was not a copy of Egypt, but a great African civilization of its own. Today, people in Sudan are proud of their Kushite heritage. They see it as proof that Africa had its own kings and queens, its own scholars and warriors, its own legacy of greatness. The story of Kush is not just a story of the past. It is a story of resistance, power, culture, and African pride. From the city of Kerma to the pyramids of Meroë, Kush shows that Africa was never silent. It always had a voice.